The official website of the 27 parties to the United Nations Convention on Climate Change, regarding Egypt as a host country for the COP27 conference, issued in English, presented four main objectives: mitigation, adaptation, financing, and cooperation. Or global. Egypt's goals and vision are comprehensive and ambitious objective results that are commensurate with the science-based challenge and guided by principles based on agreements, decisions, pledges and commitments, from Rio 1992 to Glasgow 2021, and we seek to accelerate global climate action by reducing emissions, increasing adaptation efforts, and enhancing appropriate financing flows. We recognize that a fair transition remains a priority for developing countries around the world. Goal 1: mitigation. We must unite to limit global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius and work hard to keep the 1.5 degrees Celsius target alive. This requires bold and immediate action and increased ambition by all parties, particularly those in a position to so and those who can and do set an example. COP27 will be a moment for countries to live up to their pledges and commitments towards achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement. To enhance implementation of the convention, this year should see the implementation of the Glasgow Charter's call for a review of ambition in NDCs, and creation of a work program for ambition on mitigation. Goal 2: adaptation. Extreme weather events such as heat waves, floods, and wildfires have become a daily reality of our lives, and world leaders, governments, and states parties to the convention reiterated their commitment at COP26 to strengthen global action on adaptation at COP26. The global adaptation goal was an important outcome of COP26. We must ensure that COP27 decisively delivers the required progress and urge all parties to demonstrate the necessary political will if we are to identify and assess the progress we have made towards enhancing resilience and helping the most vulnerable communities. Beyond the global goal on adaptation, COP27 should see an enhanced global agenda for action on adaptation, confirming what we agreed in Paris and articulated in more detail in the Glasgow Charter regarding placing adaptation at the forefront of global action. Goal 3: finance. At COP27, it is essential that we make significant progress on the critical issue of climate finance while moving forward with all finance-related items on the agenda. The importance of adequacy and predictability of climate finance is fundamental to achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement, and to this end, there is a need to enhance transparency of financial flows and facilitate access to meet the needs of developing countries, particularly Africa, the least developed countries, and small island developing states. The present commitments and pledges, announced from Copenhagen and Cancun, through Paris and all the way to Glasgow, require a follow-up in order to make clear where we are and what more needs to be done. Progress in delivering the $100 billion annually will build more trust between developed and developing countries, demonstrating actual commitments being fulfilled. Objective 4: cooperation. Strengthening and facilitating agreement in negotiations is of paramount importance to the COP27 presidency to achieve tangible results in a balanced manner. Advancing partnership and collaboration will help achieve our four goals and ensure that the world embraces a more resilient and sustainable economic model where people are at the center of the climate conversations. UN negotiations are based on consensus, and reaching an agreement will require the inclusive and effective participation of all stakeholders. We are working tirelessly to ensure appropriate representation and participation of all relevant stakeholders at COP27. Especially vulnerable communities and representatives from countries in the African region who are increasingly affected by the impacts of climate change. We need to turn the Glasgow outcome into action, and to start implementing it, it is essential to make sure that humans are at the center of the climate conversations. The official website of the conference emphasized that governments, the private sector, and civil society need to work hand in hand to change the way we interact with our planet. We must introduce new solutions and innovations that help mitigate the negative effects of climate change. We also need to quickly replicate and scale up all other climate-friendly solutions for implementation in developing countries. What is climate? Definition. Climate is the average measurement of the temperature, wind, humidity, snow, and rain of a place over the years. Climate is like weather, but climate measures a long period of time. The difference between climate and weather. Climate is different from weather. Weather is the changes that occur in the atmosphere on a daily basis. The weather we live in today could be completely different from the weather we will experience tomorrow. Climate is a form of weather that occurs over a long period of time, such as years or centuries. For example, the climate can be dry in an area, as it rarely rains there. However, on some days when it rains, it is raining on that day. But this does not change the climate, because the climate is still dry in that region. Climate types. There are many ways that scientists use to describe different types of climate. One of these ways is to divide the climate into 5 types: tropical, dry, temperate, cold, polar. There are also important subspecies such as rainforest, desert, cold desert, savanna, and steppe. Why is climate important, or what is the importance of climate? Climate can determine many things, but it especially determines the types of plants and animals that can live in that area. For example, polar bears need a cold climate because they can get too hot and die quickly in the desert. And when the climate begins to change, animals and plants are threatened with extinction. Climate change. Climate can change over long periods of time. Sometimes this change is just one of the Earth's cycles, but sometimes external forces can greatly affect the climate. And humans have had an impact on the climate by building large cities and cutting down vegetation, trees, in places like rainforests. This has had an effect on the local climate. Other major events that can affect the climate are volcanic eruptions and changes in the sun. Ice Age. Throughout Earth's history, there have been times when the Earth's climate has become considerably colder. During these times, the ice cover, or glaciers, covering the North Pole increased to reach much of the northern hemisphere. Fun facts about climate. Once the sun's rays hit the land and oceans around the equator at a direct angle, this region will become the hottest region on the planet. The winds are usually in the same direction in some places over the oceans. And they have names such as northeast trade wind and western wind. These winds are important in climate and were also important for ancient sailing ships that needed wind power to travel. Mausanram village, in the state of Assam in India, gets 467 inches of rain annually. The driest place is the Atacama Desert, in Chile, which gets virtually no measurable rainfall annually. The hottest place on Earth is the Danakil Desert in Ethiopia, where the average temperature is 34 degrees Celsius 93 degrees Fahrenheit. The Danakil Desert is located in northeastern Ethiopia and southern Eritrea, and it also falls within the southern Red Sea Governorate. Or Low Aldnakil, and there are salt industries, and is also home to the African wild ass. The coldest place is the Polar Plateau, in Antarctica, where the average temperature is minus 56.7 degrees Celsius minus 70.1 degrees Fahrenheit.